I just want to talk to the creative people, the ones who are actually trying to create their own circumstances. Because some people are actually good at following orders and doing a 9-to-5 job and staying in line and doing things like that. We need those kind of people. Those kind of people are good, so they need to be here. But I want to speak to the people who are more creative. They think outside the lines. They're nonconformist, and they're go-getters, okay? They want to make something happen, something significant and unique to them, to their own experience. Now, creativity is not just painting pictures or making sculptures or what have you. Creativity is in everything, okay? God created this world. God created us in his own image. I don't even like to call God his or her. God is an entity. It is not a gender. God is God, all-encompassing, all-knowing, everywhere and nowhere at once. So God created human beings in its own image, and we're creators, okay? We got the creative gene, so that's a good thing. Creativity is the answer to any problem in this world. Any problem needs a creative answer and a solution. If you want to create financial success, creativity could do that. If you want to fix your mental state, creativity could do that. If you want to express yourself better, creativity could do that. Creativity could do anything. So we have to nurture our creativity. We have to foster it, we have to sharpen it, and we have to strengthen it. Because you can't just let it sit on the shelf. Eventually, it'll die a slow death. Now, all the people who were born to be creative, it's a really sad story how so many of them let their creativity die on the shelf, never picking it up to use it. Just let it drift away, effervescently. It's gone. It disappears like a cloud of smoke. So that's the sad part. But the inspiring part is that all you have to do is exercise your creativity. And one of my favorite authors is James Altucher, and he wrote a book called Choose Yourself. And in the book Choose Yourself, he said one thing that he came up with was, it's called the idea muscle. You exercise the idea muscle, and what you're going to do is you write down 10 ideas every single day, no matter what. You don't give up. You write down every single idea, whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. It has to be an idea. The point is not coming up with some groundbreaking ideas right away. The point is to exercise your brain to get good at coming up with ideas. So you got to come up with thousands of ideas before you can actually come up with a really good idea, a groundbreaking idea that's going to change the world in some way or change your life in a dramatic way. So what I used to do, when I first read that book back in 2014, I think it was, I was writing down 10 ideas every single day. Now, when the first time I tried this, I wrote down like 3 ideas right away. And then the next couple of ideas was like, I'm sitting there thinking, and I came up with some half-assed, silly ideas. And then I'm like, damn, I got to come up with like 5 more ideas, and I'm stuck. And I'm pacing around with the pen in my hand, and I'm thinking, what the hell am I, like, I'm just overthinking it, really. But eventually I got the ideas down. There were just some silly, bogus ideas. I don't even remember what I wrote. Now, I did this for like 2 or 3 weeks. Every single day. And sometimes I wrote the ideas down on my phone because I wasn't near a pen. The way you want to do this is you want to sit down in front of the piece of paper and get it done. You don't want to just, all right, I'll go for a walk and then I'll write down a couple ideas. I'll go, take the dog out, then I'll do a couple more, run some errands. And no, you want to actually force yourself when it's hard to think about it. Because what you'll find is when you get good at just sitting there and writing the ideas down and forcing your brain to do it as an exercise, you start to have all these ideas come to you out of nowhere, just in regular everyday activities. You'll notice more ideas through osmosis coming into your brain. It's pretty crazy. Now, I had a bunch of notebooks with my ideas 1 through 10. I had, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 pages worth on a legal pad. and I lost the notebook. The other day I was looking for this notebook because I wanted to look at some of my old ideas, and I lose notebooks constantly, so I lost the notebook. But what I did notice with the ideas that I was writing down was that some of the ideas would mature. Like they would turn into, I would make iterations and they would turn into better ideas, or I would add to an idea that I had before. That's kind of the trend that I would notice. A lot of the ideas would be similar. I would try to make them as different as possible, but I would end up adding to an older idea of some sort. So, you know, I would come up with a lot of book ideas. I would come up with song ideas, whether it be lyrics. I would come up with movie ideas, like scripts for movies that I wanted to write. Maybe even like online courses that I wanted to create, certain things like that. There was a ton of things that I wrote. And I wanted to look back because I know I had a couple of good ones out of the hundreds that I wrote down. But the only one I can really remember was when I wanted to create a gym, right? And this gym has a mile-long track around it, kind of like a circle, or maybe even one of those, you know, ovals, like a regular running track would be. And in the middle, you have everything. You have like a swimming pool, you have rock climbing structures, you have boxing ring or UFC cage or whatever. But everything else is inside of that track, and you're running around it. And it's just, it gives you, it makes it so everything is in there. No matter what kind of exercise you want to do, it's there. And that was one really cool idea. Now the thing with it is sometimes your brain is like, well, I could never afford to do that, so I'm not even gonna think about that idea. See, that's where you shoot yourself in the foot, because it's not about whether you can afford to do that or not. It's about coming up with the ideas creatively, unblocked and unhindered by your limiting thoughts. See, when you're trying to think creatively, you can't allow those limiting thoughts to creep in, because they stunt the growth of the creativity. So it makes no sense to be hypercritical of yourself. The whole point of this creative exercise, and what I gained from it, is to just let loose, just let it go. You know, it doesn't have to be a great idea. It doesn't have to, it can quite downright be an embarrassing idea. The more uncomfortable the idea, the better. And then he says something in the book too about how sometimes the ideas kind of mesh together and turn into, they have idea sex, and then the ideas have babies. So you might take one idea about a movie and merge it into a cake decoration, or a recipe, a cookie recipe somehow. Or you have an idea for a rap song and you turn the rap song into a sitcom, something, right? Really good book. I mean, Choose Yourself is probably one of my top 10 books that I've ever read in my life. If anybody asks me for book recommendations, I say Choose Yourself is probably one of the best recommendations, especially for people who are unique and trying to think creatively, trying to, you know, step out on their own and make a life for themselves, hence the word choose yourself. One other thing that I want to mention when it comes to creativity and prioritizing time for creativity, whatever it is you want to do, I mean, even drawing, making mandalas, anything, make time for it and dedicate time to it. You know what I mean? Like, you got to just sit down and dedicate time to the craft, because think about it. Putting it off is only going to cause the habit of putting it off stronger. So every time you put off doing the creative pursuit, the more you will put it off. And the more that you do the creative pursuit, the easier it is to continue to do the creative pursuit. In the beginning, you might feel like you're forcing yourself to do your craft. You're honing your skills. But that's a good thing, because eventually it's going to come to you easy. And it's just like the idea muscle, because even with the ideas, I started to notice when I was doing this exercise, and I'm going to start doing this again. This is why I want to record this video and tell people to do this, because I'm going to do it again because I find it so beneficial. But when I used to do it And I should have been more consistent doing it. I wish I was more consistent with the idea muscle thing, writing down 10 ideas every day, because if I was, who knows what ideas I could have came up with. I came up with some pretty good ideas back then in a matter of 2 weeks. Now, if you did it every single day, it would have been so much better. And I would have had this has been years. If I would have done this for years and filled up notebooks upon notebooks constantly, just stacks of notebooks with ideas, I could only imagine what would have happened out of that. When I was doing all these ideas and writing them down like this, I started noticing when I was out doing my daily activities, tons of ideas would creep into my mind. And almost these enlightenments would hit me, and I'm like, dude, I gotta write this down. I felt like I would have to pull over and write stuff down right away. I used to keep notebooks in my car for that reason as well. But you see, this is where your idea muscle is starting to get stronger. And it only gets stronger and stronger and stronger until eventually you're like an idea machine. You can't stop seeing ideas. And when you get to that point, you start to act on a lot of these ideas, and you start to come up with more ideas on how to take action on those ideas and make things happen. You might look at an idea and you might say, well, I don't have the means to do that, or I can't do that, this, that, and the third. But the more you think about your ideas, the more you think about ways and avenues to get to those grand, bigger ideas. What it's all about is just taking action and doing it, and not putting off the idea muscle exercise or drawing a mandala or painting, whatever you do, writing music, writing lyrics, even dancing. If you're a dancer, you dedicate time to dance, and it's a physical expression. And man, the list goes on. There is just too many art forms to even mention. But I just want to emphasize the importance of practicing your creative muscle, practicing and strengthening your creative muscle, because it is a gift from God, but you have to use the gift that you have. It's a beautiful gift. So what is it that you like to do? What is it that you enjoy doing? What kind of creative expression do you enjoy? Identify and make some time for it every day. And try out the idea muscle exercise. Write down 10 ideas every single day. If you're a morning person, write them down in the morning. If you're more of a night person like me, write them down at night. My brain works better at night. Sometimes it works good in the morning, but I'm more of a night owl kind of person. At night, I tend to want to write things and get creative, especially when there's a full moon, I noticed. I get really creative in a full moon. So, just try it out. Try it out for a couple weeks and notice what you come up with. And when you get stumped, just remember, it's not about having perfect ideas, and it's not about being perfect. It's just about exercising that idea muscle, man. The reason why I wanted to share this is because I know it's going to help me over these next couple of months. I'm going to come up with a ton of ideas, and I'm going to force myself to do it 10 ideas every single day. Sometimes it might only take me 10, 15 minutes. Sometimes it might take me 30 to 45 minutes. Who knows? But I'm going to continue to do it no matter what. Maybe when I'm having trouble thinking of an idea, I'll do some push-ups, or maybe do some sun salutations or something. Go for a walk and write down the rest of the ideas as fast as I can. It's an exercise like anything else. I've been going to the track and jogging about 2 miles every day. That's an exercise. I'm trying to exercise my lungs. I'm trying to exercise my heart. I got to exercise the brain. So exercise your lungs, exercise your heart, and exercise your brain. Exercise everything. Peace out, man. We'll see you again.